Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that every single day celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi such an amazing place to live, work, and play. Hey, we have a special guest today. We're going to be coming over to Steve Azar here shortly. But before we do that, I want to share. I actually have shared this before, but it means so much. I wanted to share it again. It just popped up on my feed this morning, and it's a quote by Amy Weatherly, and here's what it said. Some people could be given an entire field of roses and only see the thorns in it. Others could be given a single weed and only see the wildflower in it. Perception is a key component to gratitude, and gratitude is a key component to joy. We all know people I know that sort of fits either of those descriptions. But my next guest, Steve Azar, he's definitely a guy who sees the wildflower. He is a positive guy who loves this incredible state of Mississippi. He's a dear friend and someone I enjoy checking in with from time to time. How you doing, Steve?
Hey, Ricky, you're a brother. Thank you. Hey, Cal. Hey, guys.
Yeah. Cal's always there with us for sure, and you're quick because of your show in a Mississippi Minute. You know how important it is to have a great producer. There's none better than that SuperTalk, are there?
I love. There's none better. Will's been so fantastic. I mean, obviously, he's been amazing. He works really hard. I don't know how he does what he does. You and Cal are such a great team. So ours is a little different situation because it's just radio, and I'm sending him files from interviews I'm doing. But Will makes them right. So he's been a blessing for sure.
You know, Steve, you've had, man, I tell you, it's kind of like Coast Vue. When you do in a Mississippi Minute for a couple of days a week, you always keep it fresh. And, you know, somebody said to me, Kyle and I have done over 600 conversations in my 2 years doing this. Wow. And people wonder, where are you going to, where are all these guests going to come from? But they just keep appearing. I often say that when you look at a new guest as a stone that you can turn over, and then 2 or 3 other possibilities pop out from underneath the stone, right. Man. You just never know where they're coming from. But man, you keep finding these incredible people. Where do they come from?
Well, you know what? I got to tell you, I was worried about this the first 3 months, and now in the 5th year. So now sometimes there's been some repeats. Obviously, I've been on your show a handful of times. You've been on my show a few times at least. Trent, like during the Olympics, Trent Demas, he won the 92 horizontal high bars gold medal in Barcelona. He is all into the whole Russian doping, and he understands it, and he's friends with some of the people that defected, being an Olympian in his time. And he knows the truth. So anytime the Olympics are going, he's worth talking to because he's got a whole another take on, and especially what happened this time. Once again, there was, a 15-year-old little girl taking stuff that's going to ruin her life, her body. And so anyway, he gets really into it. And I look at, it's funny, Cal, when I'm looking at the wave file on the thing, I see this much of me. And I see this much of him, and I'm going like, that's awesome because he's rolling, And I think our listeners, I've learned to not butt in as much. Sometimes I have to because I want to say something based off of something, and I try to get them right back on the track. But you're right. I mean, you go, how am I going to find these guests? But it's friends of friends of friends of friends, And so people start reaching out, publicists start reaching out. I got an LA publicist that's been reaching out. Started with Rob Mora, who's a great actor. He was Northern Exposure's doctor, the lead, and he's been on Billions and all that. And he started sending me all sorts of folks from LA and Mississippi publicists. It's been going good.
Well, you and I have talked about this. You're a singer-songwriter. You had a lot of success in Nashville. You came back to Greenville. You were named the Music and Cultural Ambassador for the state of Mississippi, and you have just love this state, and you wear a bunch of different hats. But one of the things that you and I talked about is the fact that the music industry has changed dramatically with streaming, whereas before you would make your money from the albums and tour to help the albums is just the opposite today. Now you make a lot of money touring, but the other money comes from being a writer, being a singer songwriter,
Sure.
writing your own music. And what I've noticed on your show, maybe this is just a coincidence, or maybe it's sort of the sign of the times, is you have a lot more singer-songwriters on these days, people who are writing their own music. Is that just sort of understood in the industry, that the way in this new world, this new business model for music, that you have to do both?
Well, I've always been a fan of, first of all, as you know, I've written for me. And I'm a performer. I didn't have a problem leaving home and because I didn't love leaving home in my family. But the end result for me being on stage, that was part of my formula. I love writing songs and recording them, but if I couldn't play them for people, then I felt like there was going to be a tremendous void, and my family understood that. A lot of our songwriter friends relied on album sales, even if they didn't get singles, and maybe they get a single every once in a while, or maybe they get hot and get a stack of singles. And they're riding themselves all the way. It's a boatload of money and success. And with that comes they get to stay at home. They don't have to go anywhere. But sales are gone now, pretty much. And that 9 cents a record per song, you sell 1 million records, it's $90,000 for each song. If you sell 4 million records, it's $360,000 per song. So, I had friends that had George Strait, Keith Urban, back in the day, Patti Loveless, Trish Yearwood, Garth Brooks. They'd have 10 cuts on one album. Well, they were selling millions of records. So you can start doing the math, right? Well, they didn't have to leave home. So now that well's dried up. And the benefit is I love interviewing my old friends who chose to stay home but kept me breathing in Nashville, because that's who I spent all of my time with. All of my time with the wittiest, most creative, brilliant minds. I felt pretty inadequate at times being around some of them because they were just amazing. And so now the benefit is they want to be on the radio. They want to talk about a record they're working on. They want to talk about their own music, which is why they went to the town to do it in the first place. They just transitioned into this songwriter mode only. And now they want to play live. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's good for good for the fans, I'm telling you.
Well, it is. It's so interesting to try to understand this new business model in a streaming world. In some respects, do you feel like you sort of got it figured out now, or does it keep changing?
Well, it's got to keep changing because it still isn't making any sense. So you got a guy on Spotify making $100 million, right? He's got content, and I get it. But Spotify has never felt like the music that they play, which is there based off of all their advertisement, all their memberships, all of that money comes because of the music. But for some reason, they feel like, well, I own a restaurant and I serve food, but but the food doesn't matter, and we don't have to pay for it. Like you're buying it, you're not paying your suppliers for the food. And so we're getting better, but we've been bad, but now we're getting better. So you figure every 1 million streams is $4,137. That is what you make on a song. Now, I don't co-write a lot anymore. And so if I make all that, then if I have 12, 15 million streams, it still doesn't add up to making a living, but it does keep me playing live, and that's where I make money. So, but you got to have hundreds of millions of streams, Now it's supposed to triple, and if it does that, then it's starting to add up and make some sense. But yeah, that you got to realize on radio you get 7 cents every time it's played. Well, think if you get millions of plays on radio, then that's where you make money. Yeah, it's crazy. Hey,
so when you watch someone like Morgan Wallen and the way he's become this like incredible sensation.
Morgan Wallen.
Wallen. Yeah. What do you think of that situation? I mean, it just becomes such. I mean, he's packing the houses, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he's doing. Is his music that good?
Well, you can't argue when someone comes along and connects. You know what I mean? Like whoever it is, I've always believed, whether it's George Michael or it's Elton John or it's Wallen. I mean, whoever it is Morgan, is Stapleton. They come along and it just works. So you can't argue with the people that are coming. I've always been a believer, like, well, all those people can't be crazy. And also I think that when you fit into a niche, and there's a lot of those people, you sort of, it's very bipolar, and it can be very effective rather than just sort of living in the middle and, I may go see them. He's making an effect on somebody.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, and like the Coast Coliseum in the last week or so, I mean, records, everywhere it goes, a record. Yeah. Hey, when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with my friend Steve Azar, and we'll find out what's the latest with him in terms of the being on the road. And in fact, he just got back from Barcelona. Be interested to know what it was like to travel internationally again. So we'll see you after this break. I love visiting with my friend Steve Azar here on Coast Vue. He has the really popular show on SuperTalk, Mississippi Radio, in a Mississippi Minute. He's a singer-songwriter. He's the music and cultural ambassador of the state of Mississippi. His song, One Mississippi, is the theme song. Thank you for allowing me to use that song, Steve, for SuperTalk Outdoors, the show that I do across the SuperTalk network. And it is that song, incidentally, is progressing nicely through the legislature as we speak. It's in conference now, no new reports to give. But it did something that other songs could not have done with them up to this point, and that is get out of committee. Because the state's been in a need to change the state song for some time, and One Mississippi is such a great fit. We're not going to talk too much about it today because I don't want to jinx it, but it's progressing through the legislature, and good luck to you, Steve. I hope that comes to fruition.
You know what? Here's what I love. There's been a handful of schools, public schools around the state, who said that I've gotten teachers, they've learned the song and they love it. That's how it started with St. Joe here, where I went to school many years ago. Our kids went to school. My dad went to school. It's a wonderful school for kids, and they did me right, and they sort of set the precedent. And I think that's the bottom line. We want our next generation and their generation to have something that they can feel like that's unifying. And I can tell you, when I was writing the song, that was the only thing on my mind. So, and in my heart. So hopefully we'll get it done.
Well, my thoughts and prayers are with you, my friend, as it works through a really tough legislative session. I said this before, but this is one of the most consequential sessions in a very long time, because the state's is very much sitting in a good financial position. On top of that, it is holding all these funds that came from COVID relief, and it's one-time money they've got to spend. That they're having a pretty significant disagreement about state income tax and eliminating the state income tax. And because of that, there are appropriations debates and budget debates, and it's a tough session. It's a tough session. So if your song, One Mississippi, makes it out of a session like this, power to you, my friend. And I think it'll be great for the state of Mississippi.
The song will find the way when it needs to find a way.
For sure. For sure. Hey, look, when we went to break, I wanted to circle back a little bit, and there's several things I want to talk about. You've got a Songwriters Festival about to come back again. I love it. We'll come back to that in just a second. I want to hear what the latest is in terms of touring. What's the latest there as you guys try to get back on the road again? And then you just got back from Barcelona, Spain. You finally took a trip overseas. How did that feel to get back overseas again?
It was great. Our daughter's studying gastronomy over there. She's a junior at the University of Arkansas. She followed her mama's footsteps, and she's been catering and doing stuff for many years. I've even got her on one of my songs on my record. If you were to go separate all tracks, you hear her go at the age of 4. You put the sausage in the salad. She says that. But when all the music came together, you can't hear her saying it, but I know where it is. And she has stayed the course, man. And she's been interning for Cat Cora for a couple of years.
Yeah.
virtually. And so, long story short, we went to see her and hug on her, and she's doing great. But also went and did the prospect of work, and sort of turned it into a work retreat as well. So it was good.
Yeah, I see where Robert St. John's is actually doing a tour of Spain now. He's back doing his tours again. His son is actually working in a kitchen in Italy.
Wow.
And so you got your daughter's in Barcelona. My son lived in Madrid for a period of time to learn Spanish. And I spent some time over there. As I mentioned to you during the break, the thing that surprised me, I had a couple of years of Spanish, but I don't remember hardly any of it. And he learned how to speak Spanish pretty quickly. But boy, there's a huge language barrier there. I mean, Ann and I oftentimes found ourselves kind of like, wow, how do we overcome this? Because I was surprised how many people did not speak English. It was quite amazing.
I had a sugar pack because I was asking for Splenda, which they didn't have, right? So I'm looking for artificial sweetener. So I took a picture of it, and I would say exactly what that was, and they would go, they didn't know what I was saying. And I was going, oh my gosh. So I'd pull out the picture, I'd show them, and they would say exactly what I said. And come on, that's what I said. And then they'd bring me regular sugar. And I was like, come on. So I had packed Splenda, so that was good. Not just because I had it in my backpack. So I was rationing it a little bit at a time. Yeah, they didn't. There was rarely anyone that could speak English. And that's the first time I've been to Latvia, I've been to Germany, I've been a lot of countries. And they all spoke English. But this was definitely what they weren't into English at all.
Well, I remember once in a cab trying to explain to the cab driver where we needed to go. That was really difficult. I remember we went to this fast food restaurant right in downtown Madrid, and you would thought that it would have been super simple to order, and it wasn't. It was very complicated. And finally, Ann and I said, when we got done ordering, we thought maybe he understood what we wanted. And when we went out to sit outside, we opened it up, and we didn't recognize it. And we said, well, this is just another exploration with food. By the way, it turned out to be incredible, but it wasn't anything like what we had ordered. We just laughed and moved on.
Hey, I don't know about you, but after 3 days of paella, I was searching for pizza.
Yeah, for sure.
And I found it.
Yeah. Again, just a great cultural place to visit. Whatever.
Really
hey, you mentioned about once you went to London and you got a conversation with a guy about deer hunting of all things, from the chef at a restaurant who knew that you were the music and cultural ambassador of the state of Mississippi. Does that actually come up in any of the conversations you have in Spain?
I started talking to one person that could speak English, and they were. We had a long discussion about Mississippi, and of course they go Mississippi, like that, then they want to just intrigued by just the length of our name, So a lot of really curious, inquisitive people, and on the positive side, which was wonderful.
Yeah.
So I said, oh man, you got to come. They can open the door to so many different things, so many different art forms, so many, hunting, fishing, you can name culinary, you name it, and we can talk forever, So I was able to have some good conversations, especially one that was insightful, and I think they're coming. I mean, I said, come on, come see us. I gave them the route. I sent it to them in a little text thing. This is what you're going to do.
Speaking of coming to see us, I saw a great interview in the last few days. In fact, it must have been Monday. It was Monday because Monday night was the Marty Stewart dinner.
Yeah, we were
and it was Gerard and Marty Stewart, and boy, Marty Stewart, you're talking about a determined dude, man. He is so focused on creating this unbelievable place to celebrate music in Mississippi. Man, he is a treasure to the state, isn't he?
He's unbelievable, and I always make this, say this. I was there last night and got on stage with Marty for a little bit. He brought us up, me and C. Ray, talk about the country trail markers. And he's amazing, and he's been collecting for forever, since he was a little boy. And you got to realize he was good enough to play with Lester Flatt at the age of 13. And to be good enough, that means you had to be great at the age of 13. So I'm always been in awe of his talent and blessed to be his friend. And what he's doing in there is just, it's going to be so important for our state. It's going to be awesome, awesome. And then, the Choctaw Fair is where he fell. We first saw, he played the song about the Choctaw Fair meeting Connie, falling in love. One day I'm going to marry her, and he did. And it was awesome. Chief Ben was there. We got to speak, and he got up and spoke. He was articulate and wonderful. And that town is going to be popping, man. It's going to be hopping. You already got Pearl River Resort. You've got Dancing Rabbit, which is two of the best golf courses in the country. And then now you're going to have Marty Stewart's Congress of Country Music, which has got more country memorabilia than anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. All in one town. You got the Choctaw Fair and you got the Neshoba County Fair. And that's going to be rocking. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's just, do I remember the number right? Over 30,000 pieces? Or is it more than that?
Well, it's probably around 30,000. At one point, many years ago, it was 20,000. So I know he's probably still collecting. But what he's got is crazy. The mayor there was wonderful, too, as well. He had a great speech. And they've got great leadership from the the Choctaws to the mayor of the town, and everybody seems to be getting along. And that's an ambitious thing that he's doing, and it's going to work. It's going to work. Haley Barber, everybody's in, So
Haley and Marvel,
all I see is cha-ching, cha-ching, and beautiful. and they're celebrating one of these. We're the birthplace of America's music. One of the birth is the country music. So. Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, Haley Barber and Marcia Barber, they're honorary coastal Mississippians as a result of their work after Katrina. They chaired that dinner. I hate that I wasn't able to make it up. Just couldn't too much family stuff going on. But anyway, when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Steve Azar. Welcome back to Coast Vue. I'm visiting with my dear friend Steve Azar, the music and cultural ambassador for Mississippi and singer-songwriter. So, man, so much to talk about, but I'm curious, we kind of went into the business model and all of that as it relates to the music industry, but touring is still really important. What's the latest on you touring with your band?
Well, we've got probably play about 20 shows a year, but I'll probably do about 20 solo, I like to play about 40, 45 dates a year. So whatever, even if it's 15 with my band and 15 trio and then 20 by myself, I love still playing alone and getting an intimate room at a theaters and whatever. So, and then I do a lot of these series what the Mockingbird Songwriters Music Festival is all about. I do a series of shows around the country with two other writers and me. And so, it's called the Mockingbird Songwriter Series Hitmakers. And we got a couple in Denver coming up. And we do South Dakota. We do Portland, Maine, Astoria, Oregon. We go all over the place. Love doing it. So what we want to do is continue that. But the festival is bringing in over a dozen. Probably we look like we're going to have 15 maybe this time. You're talking hundreds of hits. This year, J.T. Harding wrote "Smile" with Uncle Cracker, and he's got Goo Goo Dolls song, and then James House has been writing most of Joe Bonamassa's songs on his last three records. He's the hottest blues guy in the world, blues musician, but yet he wrote "I Ain't That Lonely Yet" for Dwight Yoakam, "Broken Wing" for Martina McBride, etc. So all these guys are coming in, and we're going to be on the farm. Again, at the Gin at Dunleith. You were there last year. You and your buddies came over. I loved it. Your old high school pals. And it was coming right out of COVID, right when we were allowed to not have to wear a mask. It was like, you can if you want to. And I was stressed last year about all that. But we ended up having a great crowd, especially on Saturday. It's Friday night and Saturday, April 8th and April 9th. And tickets are cheap. And I even do it where, first of all, it's BYOB. You bring your blanket, you bring your lawn chair. You come out, we got Doe's, which is a legendary, they're the food truck here in Lost Pizza. They're my go-tos. Their food trucks are awesome. We keep it quaint. And then the shows go on. And I'm telling you, man, it's so much fun. And you've never heard the song ever until you've heard it from the person that wrote it, because they're going to take you deeper to the root of it all. And there's nothing more important than that. So I know when George Strait or Kenny Chesney or Keith Urban or somebody sings, or Darius, whoever sings a song, and you're going like, that's so great, I can't wait to see that, and then play it live, and it is awesome. But to me, I'd much rather see the reason it was ever written in the first place. And when they tell that story and play it, if there's nothing better, nothing. And that's what the benefit of streaming has pushed all these guys out of the house playing songwriter festivals and songwriter nights. They're all doing it. So it's exciting, and they'll be here. And then also you can give I'm doing wristbands. You can give your wristband to someone else if you can't come a day. That's how much I want people to come and enjoy this, because children under 12 are free, and I guess if they're 14, we're not going to know. You know what I mean? Like we're going to be loose. So, but we're excited, and it's going to be great. So, friends, the Zapponis, many generation farmers, and they're dear friends of ours, and they've got this great gin that's been converted right in the middle of their farm to be able to use for wedding receptions and events like this.
Yeah, we went last year, and for people who need to have a better understanding, just do a search on Leland, Mississippi. It's as if you were going to Greenville, but you're not going all the way. It's between Indianola and Greenville, and it's literally out in the middle of nowhere. But it takes you into the heart of the Delta, and it's farmland all around you. I remember last year. You had the weather was a little, I mean, you didn't stop you guys, but that was a pretty crisp, cold wind coming off that field, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I started running up heaters on the stage. I mean, I was worried about my guys, one of them looked back and said, Steve, that's impressive that you would do that. I thought you'd have somebody do that for you. And I said, hey, you act like I'm down back home in the Delta. I have to do stuff like this. I don't want you to freeze. And it was drizzling. It was drizzling on them. I mean, it was awful. But the next day was better. And it's great. I tell you, let me tell you what you do. You go to Mockingbird2022.eventbrite.com, and you can check out the lineup and check out who's coming and whatever you want. Or you can go to my website at steveazar.com, and you go to the menu and you hit extras, and then you can go into Mockingbird there, and you can find out all sorts of stuff that we're doing. But yes, April 8th, 9th. I love going all over the state, going to the Gulf Coast, going to Ocean Springs, and doing the Roost. And my wife and I love going down Government Street and going to Biloxi and seeing the water and eating the great food. So I'm asking everybody there in your area to come see me in my area, home of Jim Henson and the Muppets. Come on.
Well, I talk about it a lot. I mean, the Mississippi Delta and the coast really need to lean on each other more than we even do, because our success is, we're all in this thing together. A rising tide helps all boats. But as I've said so many times, the heart and soul of Delta people are very similar to the heart and soul of coast people. They've learned to be resilient, oftentimes related to the weather. Certainly, history and whatever. But what I like about this festival is that it's acoustic mostly. It's, the songwriters will get on the stage together, and 2 or 3 at a time, and they'll play together. And I remember so many songs. I don't know. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't know that I heard a song that I didn't already know. That's what you had. I mean, the number one songs represented at this festival is pretty incredible, isn't it?
Crazy. Can't even keep up with it. I mean, it's crazy. And number one songs are hard to have, but there was a lot, so, but top 5 wise, I mean, which feels like a number one. So once you get in that top 5, it's a crapshoot, because timing and everything has to happen. Sounds a lot like what's going on with the House and the Senate. Things have to align. The stars have to align, and it takes effort and takes all that. So it's all good. And once you get there, you've arrived. I mean, it's
easy to find. It's the parking's no problem whatsoever. It's plenty of parking, as you can imagine. The venue is awesome. The venue really feels perfect for this kind of event.
Yeah.
And the music is incredible. It's not too loud. It's not, so if people just want to go enjoy being around a lot of cool people. And in my case, I paid a lot of attention to who was there. Local people were there. People from all over Mississippi found their way there. And a lot of Mississippians, non-Mississippians found their way there. I remember the group that I talked to that was from somewhere in the Northeast, and they were actually working their way down to New Orleans.
Yeah.
And they were going to go fishing in Venice, now that I think about it. And but they said they heard about the festival. They decided to make a detour on the way, and here they were enjoying this incredible music.
I just love that.
And just blown away by it.
Yeah. And I've got, and the kid that I've been working with for quite a while now, Tyler Tisdale, who's from Petal, Mississippi. He's closing in on 1 million streams. So since last year, he didn't have his first single out yet. So September, his first single came out. I think it was September, and or maybe a little before. But since then, he's closing in on 1 million streams on his first 2 singles. Apple Music picked his first 2 singles as top 10 best new Americana songs. I mean, so he's gaining ground. We got him an agent now. I'm so proud of him. He'll be back, but he'll be back better and more known than he was last year. And that's your goal. And then keep him in Mississippi, and hopefully he'll stay here and hub out of here his whole life and be successful. I'm so proud of him. And then Zach Day, who went to Mississippi State, he's been in Austin doing really well. He's coming back. His band's going to close things out. And then we've got all these incredible hit songwriters in between. So it's going to be great.
It's a great reunion for you too. I mean, what I remember, having the opportunity to meet many of them and watching the way you sort of intermingled with them. It's a brotherhood, man. The music writing world is a brotherhood, isn't it?
Love it, because we all were just struggling together. We didn't know we were struggling. We were believers. But when the first one had some success and we heard what they were writing in the room, and we went, oh, we really got excited. And then it turned into a cut and then a hit. We were like, it can happen. So we were all celebrating. There was never a competitive thing. We were all lifting each other up with success. It was like being on being on the Bad News Bears, baseball team. And somehow we won the championship, and of a bunch of dysfunctional, train wreck mentally. But there's some brilliance, man, that I've been around, that I've been so humbled. And yeah, I get to be with my old buddies. It's awesome. Awesome.
It's fun. It's fun to watch y'all together. I mean, like I said, it's clearly a fraternity. A lot of hugs. A lot talking about the old times together.
But that
trials and tribulations
with everybody, because they don't hide from anybody.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah, that is so cool. Hey, listen, when we come back, we'll close out the final segment today with Steve Azar. It's always good to catch up with Steve. We'll give you more of the details on the Mockingbird Songwriters Festival coming up here in April. If you're interested in going, I'll certainly plan on being there myself again. I just enjoyed it. It was a great weekend. Anyway, when we come back, we'll continue and close out the session with Steve Azar. Welcome back to Coast Vue for the final segment with my friend, the singer-songwriter Steve Azar, the music and cultural ambassador for the state of Mississippi, and the host of In a Mississippi Minute right here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Hey, Steve, I'm curious about something, and what we're going to do is we're going to give the facts on the Songwriters Festival that's coming soon in just a second. But I'm curious, when you were at your height, how many tour locations would you go to in a single year?
Oh my! Well, I toured a lot. I'll be gone 300 days a year.
Wow!
So probably playing 160, 70 shows, 155,
wow.
60 shows. Too much. It was too much. I couldn't keep my voice. My voice was just gone. Because you got to realize, after the show, there were hundreds and hundreds of people in line, which was beautiful. And I would see every one of them. So all the talking, and then and if you went to a town the next day, and my bus driver was, obviously slept during the day, I would wake up sometimes 6 a.m. after being up, because sleep 3-4 hours sleep getting up on the air. So I was tearing up my voice, which sidelined me for a while, and then throat surgery and all that. So it was just it was too much. Listen, one time my agent, I think that they wanted to see if I'd do it, because it was just ridiculous. We played Portland, Maine, okay? The next day, we played Portland, Oregon. The next day, we played Boston, Massachusetts. And the next day, we played Los Angeles. Who created that routing? I think they were all going like, I bet Azar does it. And it was a mistake because no lack of rest really catches up with you. I think our listeners would agree that more than anything, when we don't get sleep and the quality sleep we need, and we're run down, it's the worst thing for you. It affects your focus.
It is. I would think, especially being on you want to be fresh. You want to give people what they want. And, I've only touched a little bit of that doing a radio show, but I think I can tell when my voice is not there, whether, I'm coming out of a flu or when I had COVID. And when you're not sleeping well, you're not on your game. And it's important. It's important to be clear-headed, because you want to give this the best you can do every time you do it. You don't want to ever fake it. And I'm sure, as it related to what you did, I can only imagine, for example, when you were touring with Bob Seger, you went from 0 to 60. That had to have been a wild ride.
But he played every other night to rest his voice. So now sometimes we would stop and play in between some really great venues. But we had a radius issue, so we had to be careful. But we were gone a whole lot. But at the end of the day, it was fantastic. And my voice was as strong as it's ever been during that period because I was able to rest. And by then we had learned, okay, Steve, you can't do it. It's like a football player suiting up every day and playing in the SEC every day. You're playing, you can't do it. Your body has to heal, so your throat needs to heal. And I learned it the hard way.
Yeah, that's got to be super tough. Hey, you write a lot still. You not only your own stuff, but you've done, I think, commercials and other stuff. Do you literally have a regiment where you write every day, or what's your normal process?
Used to be that way but that was what you needed to do to stay in shape. It's almost like truly staying in shape, your body.
Yeah.
So you got to keep your mind in gear. But I have gotten a lot better at waiting on an idea or sitting down. Sometimes you have to sit down and go. My biggest success has not come from having a title. My biggest success on my songs have been writing to a title. So all of a sudden, title reveals itself. I Don't Have to Be Meet on Monday I got this idea, so I don't have to be meet on Monday. It came to it. And then the verse words brought that lyric flew out of my head and mouth, and I thought it was stupid. But there's a fine line between what's stupid and what really is not stupid. So,
yeah.
But with that said, I've written myself, Waiting on Joe. There's just so many songs that I've written that did not have a title. So for me, it's just sitting down and doing it. And when I do, I usually accomplish something.
Hey, listen, this is something I saw this morning. It's from Andrew Lloyd Webber. We know the great playwright. And he said this: there's a very fine line between success and failure. Just one ingredient can make the difference.
Yeah.
Well, you know that well, don't you?
That is, well, yeah, but that is most true. That is absolutely true. People don't realize how close they come to either succeeding or failing. And it's that fine line, and I always tell folks that I'm working with and kids, they feel like they're so far away, from there. I said, no, you're not. You're further today than you were yesterday. All of a sudden, you're going to make that perfect turn, and it's going to be right there. And you're going to go, oh, well, you've earned that because you're working at it.
So let's go. We got less than a minute left. Mockingbird Songwriters Festival in Leland, Mississippi in April. Give us the details on how they can learn more.
Mockingbird 2022.eventbrite.com. Please check it out. You come, stay in their hotels. We have a True by Hilton. We've got the Hampton Inn. We've got the Holiday Express. We've got all that. And then come be with us, and folks won't regret it, because my songwriters, my buddies don't hide, they hang.
Yeah, they do.
So,
fun event. What a great event. It's a cool kind of It's not a wild. It's just a cool thing where people enjoy being together. I hope you'll consider going. Steve, it's been great catching up with you, my friend.
Thank you, brother.
You too, man.
Kyle, thank you. Love you guys.
You bet. Take care. Have a great day.